Hi everyone, welcome back to Type 2 Cycling. Today I'm going to bring you another Zwift video. It's a lovely day outside, but I paid $19.99 or whatever for a Zwift monthly membership and I want to make the most of it. So rather than going out and enjoying the sunshine, I'm going to sit in my dingy garage on the turbo trainer and give it my all in a Zwift race. As I'm getting warmed up, I'll tell you a bit about the route. It's Hell of the North, which is based on Paris-Roubaix. It's about 21 kilometers, mostly flat with some cobbled sections and then a climb at the end. The climb is the Petite KOM, so it's about 100 meters of climbing, if I remember right, and 2.7 kilometers long. I thought the course suited me quite well as a rider, as it's flat for the most part. I didn't really have a game plan though, if I'm honest, just try and stick in the group, hang on if I can, and then see what I've got left for the climb at the end. This was a race in the Tour de Zwift, which is going on at the moment. I was put into category C and there were 61 riders in total on the start line. My window cleaner actually turned up literally about a minute before the starting time. Hi mate, you alright? Yeah, not bad, thanks. Said a quick hello, but luckily he didn't fancy a long chat so I could get going. Zwift races always start really hard, like even I knew that, but I think I overdid it a little bit. Pushed like 600-700 watts and then suddenly I was like off the front and my heart rate was up into the mid 160s before the lead-in had even finished. So just had to dial it back a little bit and sort of settle into a reasonably high tempo. At this point, I'd like to get my excuses in as well. Firstly, I hadn't eaten anything since breakfast about 3 or 4 hours beforehand. Secondly, I did a VO2 max workout last night with sort of 4-minute intervals at, I think it was about 105, 110% of FTP. So my legs were pretty cooked from that. And most importantly, despite all the hours I've spent training on Zwift, I've never done a race before. So didn't really know what to expect and I'm pretty clueless when it comes to tactics. But I thought I would just give it a go, give it my all and see what happened. So as we're getting into it, I was just trying to stick with the group sort of towards the front, like anywhere from kind of 10th to 30th position. I knew that was pretty sensible because you're being sheltered from the wind, you know, you're not going right off the front, but also if there are any surges or if it strings out a little bit, you're in theory less likely to sort of get shot out the back and then have to put in an effort to get back on. Having said that, my concentration definitely did drop at times and I found myself suddenly, you know, I'd move back 10 or 20 places and then I'd have to just put in like a mini effort just to, you know, get back into a place that I felt a bit more comfortable, maybe a bit less anxious. So we were ticking along at like a reasonably high pace, but also still manageable. A few people did go off the front. I was more than happy just to let them go and sort of trust that being in a big group with all those drafting benefits, we would eventually reel them back in. And spoiler alert, it did all come back together before the end. So it was the right decision. At one point the gap did grow a fair bit. So I thought I'd do a couple of turns on the front just to try and keep the pace up. But at the same time, not working too hard and still giving myself a little bit of recovery without burning too many matches. And actually coming into the race, seeing that it was a predominantly flat route with that kicker at the end, like I know I'm a pretty strong rider on the flat, but not so good on the climbs. So I was kind of wondering whether I should do what, you know, bigger guys tend to do in real life races. Just go off the front, create a little bit of a gap and then just go into TT mode and try and maintain like a steady high power and see if I can hold the group off until the final climb and then just hope I've got enough to hang on to get the win. But I bottled it and decided just to play it safe, you know, stick with the group, enjoy those drafting benefits. And I didn't really have any clue whether it was a realistic goal, to be honest. Like I'm sure I could have created a gap and maintained it for a little bit, but the pace was pretty high. So yeah, I'm not sure I would have carried that to the climb, let alone all the way to the top. There were a couple of intermediate sprints along the way and my ego kind of tried to get me to contest for them, but I didn't really know if there was any benefit in terms of the overall race. I guess probably not. So I just thought I'd you know, maintain my effort, try and save a bit of energy, and then I can, you know, launch a big sprint towards the end anyway. Coming into the last couple of kilometers before the final climb, I was definitely suffering a bit. Like, the pace was just relentless. There were a couple of little periods where it dropped ever so slightly, but even then, I'm just not used to such high intensities for long periods of time. Yeah, I wasn't feeling my best when I came into the bottom of the climb.
Right, it's getting real. Climb's about to start. Let's see if I can hold on.
My adrenaline was absolutely pumping though, and I finally got my featherweight power up. To be honest, I was pretty taken aback by the intensity and the pace up the climb. Like, I knew people were saving a bit and they were going to launch it coming into the climb, but I think I maintained like 4 watts per kilo for quite a lot of it, and again, I'm just not used to that. My heart rate very quickly went above 180, and for me that's like the danger zone. I'm on borrowed time when I get to that point. It started to string out a little bit, as you'd probably expect. I was desperate to just try and do everything I could to stick with the front group and hope that, you know, I could do a sprint later on. But a couple of times I found myself drifting off the back and then having to put in a bit of a sprint just to get back on.
Got to get back on that group.
I had to use my power up on like halfway up the climb on one of the steeper bits as well, just to give myself that best chance of like getting back on and just trying to stick with the group. As we kind of got into the second half of the climb, I think I was hovering around like 11th, 12th position, and I found myself thinking, you know, if I could just hold on, I'd be chuffed with a top 10 position for my first race. So that gave me a little bit of encouragement to just keep the pedals turning and keep going. As we got to like 500 meters to go, to be honest, I was so fixated on power numbers and the avatars, the characters right in front of me, that I didn't even notice that you could see the sort of finishing banner on the mini map in the corner. And that's a bit of a shame, because I think that would have really given me a bit of encouragement to sort of find a few extra watts and just keep pushing, maybe even up the power a little bit, because I knew like I was that close to the finish. You know, when it's a steep incline, you see 500 meters, but as I mentioned in my Out the Zwift video the other day, you don't really know what that translates to in terms of like how much longer you have to keep pushing. A group broke off the front, and to be honest, I didn't see the point in trying to bridge the gap myself, because I just thought it would be pointless and I wasn't going to catch up. In hindsight, I think I probably should have just given everything up the power a little bit and seen if I could hang on and then beat them in a sprint, but I just didn't think I had it in me at the time. Like, looking at my power curve and stuff, I can hold like a reasonably high power for 30 odd seconds, so I probably should have tried to go with them and then just maintained it and kicked a little bit at the end. But as it happened, I think I misjudged it slightly and launched my sprint a little bit late, and I got some decent power. I think I topped out about 975 watts, but I couldn't quite catch up with the guys at the front, and I also let my inexperience show by nearly falling off my trainer.
Whoa, oh, f***. Knee fell off. So I finished 6th out of 61, which isn't bad to be fair, like top 10%. I'm pleased with that for a first race. The pace, like 4 watts a kilo, just killed me going up. Like my heart rate was into the 180s, and that's danger zone for me above that. So when like a few small groups branched off the front, I struggled to keep on the wheel, then had to put another effort in to try and get back on. But by the end it was too late. Like they were too far ahead. But to be honest, I'm pretty chuffed. 6th place, first ever race, I can't really argue with that. But yeah, do you want to see me try a few more of these? I guess it's the Tour de Zwift at the moment, so there'll be quite a lot of races going on. Let me know what you think, if I could have done anything better, apart from actually preparing properly, eating, not doing a workout the night before, doing a bit of recon of the course, actually practicing in some other races. Other than that, I'm all ears if you've got any tips. Hope you've enjoyed the video anyway. If you did like it, then please click like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you next time.